Looking back on the road trip, how would you grade your team's performance in both games?
You know, I think we're very much a work in progress moving forward, Rich. First of all, I think Oregon has an excellent team. They had a great atmosphere. You know, being a 14-0 team at that point in the season, playing against them, we knew that that was going to be a difficult game. In that game, our defense was really more of the same. You know, we talked about Utah and Colorado, that's something we didn't do consistently. That led into the Oregon game, and especially in the first half. I thought the shots Oregon got, the difference of 11 points had a lot to do with our defense and obviously their overall play. In the second half, we closed the gap. We defended better. And I think, like always, we made a run at the end. And there's no shame in losing that game, but I think the concern coming out of that game is more about us and can we get our defense back. Against Oregon State, we improved. And at the end of that game, if you look at their offensive numbers, I think throughout the game, although we weren't perfect, we answered that, and I thought that was a positive sign for us. Winning on the road is very difficult, especially in conference play, and to leave that trip with the split is something that I think we feel good about, because very easily when you lose that first one, it puts more pressure on the second game. So our guys bounced back, proud of that, and now we have a week of practice, which I think it's an opportunity for us to really sharpen up and continue to get better. You know, I would think that one of the things that has kept us moving forward and why the winning streak grew is we really didn't talk a lot about how many games we won. Now the longer that goes on, I think more of the outside world, the national media, and it is quite an accomplishment when you come down to where you're one of 3 teams that hasn't lost. I mean, it goes to show you how hard that is to do. But I don't think we lost to Oregon because we were 14-0 and we needed a loss. We just lost to a team that was better than us on that given night. And I think if there's one thing that we, in hindsight, wish we would have done better, is we wish we'd have been better overall defensively. Through our 12 non-conference games, that's something that won us quite a few close ones. And we didn't have that with us in that first game on this trip. And if there's anything that a loss does, I think it really sharpens your senses to how great it is to win and how disappointing it is to lose. There's not an even feeling when after the game one or the other has happened.
You know, obviously Arizona State's an improved ball club, one of many in the conference. What are your general thoughts on Arizona State right now?
Well, I think they're the most improved team from a year ago. I think they have 2 players that really stand out. Carson, true point guard, just really having a tremendous year. He gives them an element that they haven't had in recent seasons and makes his teammates better. Just very talented, has a confidence about him that I think can become contagious, and you really see that on their team. Bashinsky as a center, I don't know if there are too many just true centers that play college basketball that are having a better year than him. He's one of the leading shot blockers in the nation, and he's learned how to score with his back to the basket, very agile and very big. You know, I think probably someone who's taller than 7 foot. And then like all teams, you have a guy like Carrick Felix who's developed over his time. This is his senior year. You could tell he's having the best year of the 3 that he's had, and they have a good team. Their non-conference season represented that, and I think through the first 4 games of our conference, they've played as well as any team. I think that any game in our conference that's on the road is a difficult game, and it's why it's such a thrilling feeling to be able to win, and that's the feeling we just experienced, you know, leaving Oregon State. You know, the final score wasn't as indicative as the feeling that you had before, during, at halftime of the game. It's difficult when you're taking on the other team's crowd, and especially early in conference play where everybody has a chance. And but with Arizona State, we have to be at our best. I think for us not to be at our best, we're not going to be good enough to win that game. But playing very hard, playing together, having a great week of practice, that's what it's all about. It's not trying to make it too big or too small, but just taking it for what it is, and that is an important road game for us. And I think from our perspective, we want to perform to our standards and be the best that we can be. And with that, as I think we've proved out, when we are at that level, it's going to take a really good performance by the opponent to beat us. And so that's really our focus this week.
And lastly, you mentioned it at the start, you know, we were one of 3 undefeated teams to go down this past weekend. Just from a global perspective, can you ever envision a scenario where a team goes undefeated over the course of the season in this age of college basketball?
It'll be very difficult. It probably can happen. A few years ago, a lot of people don't remember this because St. Joseph's was in the Atlantic 10, but they had Jameer Nelson and Delonte West and Dwayne Jones, who was also a first-round pick. And they were undefeated. They didn't lose one regular season game, and we were at Xavier. I was the assistant coach. We played them in our conference tournament. I can remember thinking about what it must feel like to be 29-0 or whatever they were at the time. And we beat them that day, and we beat them handedly. But it was almost as if they needed that loss, and a little bit maybe like us as we moved towards the Oregon game, that once in a while when you're constantly winning, you start to forget how hard it is and how important it is that you perform well and practice well and do the things in that next game that got you to where you're at. And that's really the feeling that I had against Oregon. Not that we needed a loss, but it's sometimes easy to forget how hard it is to win and the things that you need to be good at to continue to win. And we were certainly reminded in that Oregon game. But to answer your question, I think it's very difficult, but I could see it. I think there's certainly one that can do it.